New moon, Pisces season. New moon is known as the black moon or the dark moon. Some of the darkest nights that we have are when the moon is new. And those of us who follow the moon cycles like to set our goals on the new moon during this dark time for the specific reason of working from the inside out rather than the outside in. And what that means is we use this energy to tap into what is inside, what we want to design, as opposed to what we have been programmed to think that we want. It's a time for inner knowing, inner exploration, and inner reflections. I'm going to talk with you about shadow stuff because the shadow is not necessarily what you think that it is. So I'm going to talk about some shadow work, what it is, and why it's useful and how it works. First, I'm going to talk about how during this Pisces season, Pisces rules the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean. So we're here on the darkest night during the season of ruling the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean. Beings on Earth get what we need and what we want in the dark. So creatures who hunt in the night for sustenance might be the first thing that comes to mind. A sea captain, all of the sea captains who were able to see the map more clearly at nighttime while they sailed over the deepest, darkest oceans, the oceans with the most depth. They were able to see their way because the stars shine brighter at night, and they used the sky as their map, the stars. The map that they could not see as clearly during the day. These deep seas, these ships took them to elevated possibilities where they could make their lives better. So dark nights have been useful for taking action towards getting what we need and want on Earth. Does it work on Mars? I don't know. I'm not on Mars. Does it work on the moon? I don't know. I'm not on the moon. And it doesn't look like we're anywhere near being on Mars or the moon, or we wouldn't still be building prisons, would we? So, we're in a time of Pisces, which means we're also in a time of Virgo. Virgo is the shadow of Pisces. Virgo and Pisces are two sides of the same coin. Separated on a seesaw, on a teeter-totter, for the purpose of balance. To come together into the oneness and to recognize the oneness. So both sides of the coin of Virgo and Pisces are here to serve. It's all about service. Pisces surrenders to serve. Just let's go. Whatever you want, I do, is the Piscean way. Or wherever the collective takes me, I go. Piscean can also be sacrificial to the point of not knowing the self, letting go of the ego entirely to serve the greater good. Think Jesus on the cross has sometimes been used as an analogy for the Piscean energy. Virgo also wants to serve. Virgo is narrowing things down to the detail, to use judgment and discernment to serve. So on one side, in order to serve, we need to be able to surrender. We need to be able to realize that whatever we create, whatever we say, whatever we do can be taken away by the waves of the collective and used as it will be used, whether that be good or bad. So you can think of the person who made the, what was it? There was a movie recently, Oppenheimer. I didn't see it, but it was basically about someone who created some kind of energy or discovered some kind of energy, and this creation, discovery, yada, got used in a different way than what was originally intended. And that's part of that Virgo Piscean seesaw, teeter-totter. We have to be willing to put it out there anyway, even if it's going to be misunderstood, even if it's going to be used for something else, even if it's going to be used in a different way. A songwriter, a singer, when they put out a song, they need to be willing to let that song go. Other people might take that song and have it mean something completely different than what they meant it to be. So an example of that, I'm giving a lot of examples. Piscean season is very much about analogy and storytelling, and but another example could be the song YMCA was a really big thing with particular culture of people who were all about free love and love is love and dancing and living that type of life. And then it was enjoyed and became something else for an entirely different group of people that think the opposite. This is the way of Virgo Pisces. Two sides of the same coin, separated and meant to come together and recognize the oneness, and still do it anyway, because the oneness is sometimes existing within the shadow. Is always part of the oneness exists within the shadow. So what is the shadow? The shadow is not what we necessarily think it to be. So on a surface level, we might think the shadow is just simply, what do I hide from myself, or what do I hide from others? Okay, that would be like level 1 of shadow stuff. Well, level 2 would be being able to accept and embrace that we can never know everything. Things are not always what they appear to be, and they're not always what we've thought them to be, or they're not what we've always thought them to be. So on this level 2, we realize that the unknown doesn't always have to be scary or bad. So I think this is kind of like the level where we're like, oh, wait a minute, if the light and the love is good and the loving light is great, but if everything was light all the time, we'd burn up. That's not the kind of love that any of us want. We want to live, right? I think at level 2, we start to realize, of shadow work, we start to realize that there is something to the shadow, and it is necessary, and it is a part of the balance of life on this planet. And being separate from that actually enslaves us, whereas being aware of it and knowing how to utilize it for our greatest good, personally and collectively, is actually where we find freedom. And I'm talking about this too because Pluto moving into Aquarius from an opposite type of energy that it's been in for so long, Pluto's been in Capricorn, which is all about the old structure. It's all about the building of the towers in the light, where we can see it, trying to get as close to the sun like Apollo, and thinking that that is heaven, and that that is better, and that is good, and down here is not good. And associating lower vibration with being bad, when in fact lower vibrations are needed as well and can be healing as well. Trying to heal certain things, if you start at too high of a vibration, you ever hear that term, over the head and below the knees? It's not quite the right spot. So finding the right vibration also, this is shadow stuff. Those of us who have spent time, you can't know everything, but you can know things if you want to know things, and you'll never know everything. But vibrations, there's not just one hertz or a range of hertz in vibrations that are healing. And there's, okay, I'll stop there with that. But so this is level 2, where we're like, okay, there's something to this shadow stuff. It's probably really kind of useful that now I know something I didn't know before. If only I knew then what I know now. That's kind of like level 2. Level 3 is liking ourselves. And this is not the kind of liking ourselves that we're usually thinking about. This is a different kind of liking ourselves. Can we actually like ourselves for the parts of ourselves and our character and our personalities and our gifts that maybe no one will ever see? There are incredible artists and musicians throughout time, and writers who were never even seen during their lifetime or understood during their lifetime, but putting it out there anyway, doing what they did anyway, helped humanity in the future. So this level 3 type of awareness, this is kind of like realizing like, oh, the reason why we want things that are biodegradable, the reason why we're using hemp or mushrooms or these other products, the reason why we're using solar energy, or we're finding other resources to use that are less destructive, the reason why is for the future that we cannot yet see, or possibly because we're starting to be able to see some future. So part of navigating shadow work is recognizing that beings on Earth, different beings on Earth, some beings on Earth can see in the dark. And on a figurative level, seeing in the dark leads us to being able to see into the future, and we are meant to see into the future. It is the reason why before we even hear a weather report or we look outside, we can feel it in our bones when the weather's going to change. We are meant to know some of the future. We're meant to. So I would say that this is kind of like a level 3 of shadow work. Now, level 4 is the actual shadow work. You have come through the gate and now you're in the classroom, you're doing the work, okay? So level 4 of shadow work, and typically, not everyone is always in Piscean energy, but we're in it now. We've got a Pisces North Node happening. We're in the season of Pisces. I have a lot of, the alignments right now are right in transiting my birth chart. So we're like in it right now. When this is the time to understand what we're in when it comes to shadow and shadow work, and this is it's going to reach who it's meant to reach. And even if it's just one person, it's like that butterfly effect. The flittering of a butterfly can affect things on other dimensions, planes, future, other side of the earth. So level 4, the shadow work, it looks like this. We honor the dark just as much as we honor the light. We see that the dark is for sleeping. So those of us that haven't quite gotten to level 4 yet, we're up all night, performing, doing, because we have not yet reached the place where we like ourselves enough to recognize, that's 3, to recognize 2, which is that there's so much that we don't know. When we're up all night, we are acting off of how we are programmed. We're acting off of how we're conditioned and the habits that have been instilled upon us. Waking hours are when most of us are working. And a lot of that work is going to support 1%. So there we have that. We're talking about Piscean energy and sacrifice, because Pisces and Virgo, same coin, 2 sides of the same coin. Well, Pisces energy is about sacrifice. So a lot of us for a long time just work to support the 1%, serving that unconsciously, because we're not doing shadow work, because we think that shadow is bad. We think shadow is, getting in touch with your problems and solving your problems, and it's just your trauma, but you have to get past your trauma so that you can do the real work. And we've had this idea like, oh, we need to stay in the light, because what we really need is balance, but we're afraid of not having balance. And in that fear of not having balance, we've manifested an imbalance of this idea amongst those of us who want to do the spiritual work and who are inclined to do the spiritual work. We have this idea that has been limited into thinking that shadow is bad. It's equated with being ungodly. It's equated with being away from source. Here's the thing. If we think of the sun or whatever's out there as source, that thing that provides heat, well, let me tell you something. Aside from it burning us up, that source is dying. And that's why it's burning so bright. So we go to sleep so that we can process everything that we've come across in the day, of course. That's at first. When we first start doing the work, we're just processing the parts of our day that didn't match the conditioning that we've been programmed with, or the conditioning that we were raised with. And we figure out solutions in our sleep. When we're doing the shadow work, we wake up and we remember our dreams. And when we remember our dreams, we don't just sit around and talk about it. We know Indigenous folks sit around and talk about dreams, but it's much more than that. Indigenous folks did much more than that. So right now, the cutting edge of spiritual circles, we have people that get together and do dream tending, which is talking about what we dreamed, talking about it with each other as if it were my dream, it would be this. Well, I hear that your dream was like this. Well, another level of shadow work that, once you've been in it for a while, what you start to realize is doing movement. So not just saying what the dream was, but standing up. And it would go something like this. Oh, I see you're standing up. You dreamt about a garden. Oh, show me how you are standing in your garden and how that dream went. Oh, I see your hand is down here. And you were talking about the smaller plants. Oh, and now I see your hand is raised. And you're talking about these other plants. Oh, now I see your hand is above you. And you're talking about plants that have grown to be even taller than you. Did you plant these, did you put the seed and did it grow to be taller than you? What comes next? Oh, I see you're walking in a circle. Oh, actually, I see you're walking in a spiral. So we start moving our bodies according to what the dream was as we tell the dream, almost like theater. But this is done with the unconscious or preferably conscious awareness and intention that by moving the dream with our bodies, we are integrating the messages from that dream. And through integrating the messages from that dream, we are building a body conscious awareness and memory that will serve us in the future. We are putting that message in the rest of our body, not just from here to the mouth to the head sitting like I am with you here now. We are integrating it. We are embodying it. We are embodying it together. And every body is going to have a different message come from that dream. And embodying it puts the memory into us for the purpose of seeing messages about the future. So we wake up. So part of our waking life is actually meant to be for integrating the messages in the night. So after we've been doing shadow work for a while and we get to a point where we're not just dreaming about whatever happened in the daytime that didn't quite match the robot conditioning or the Pavlov dog type conditioning that we've all had, that we've just kept unconscious about. When we're doing this work, we eventually get to a place where we're no longer feeling, our dream life is no longer thinking, oh, that's what I'm here for, just to serve that 1% and to keep myself on that track. Our dream life becomes more alive, more free, more awake. And in our dream life, we're able to tap into more of our soul's potential, our soul's purpose, and more of the collective and the purpose of the collective, or the possible potentials of the collective. So part of our waking life is for remembering and integrating this work that we are doing, which is shadow work, which is our dream state, which happens at night in the dark. There are things that we have a lot of judgments about in the spiritual New Age world. Things like depression. Depression is deep rest. Depression is slowing down. Piscean season. I have multiple things about Pisces in my chart. I have sun and moon and more. And you wouldn't know it by looking at me with my Sag rising, but Piscean season, it is Pisces energy. It feels like it's slowing you down. It feels like it's taking you with the waves and bringing you back in. It's foggy. It's for those of us that are very attached to this earthly plane and like the solid masses of earth where things grow and where we build things. It can be very it can make us cranky. Like Cancerians are known as being cranky because they're right in that element between earth and water. They're close. They're close to the shore, right? It requires surrender. And on that other side of that coin, though, there's that Virgo aspect, like someone going along the ocean and trying to find the perfect shell. There's that Virgo aspect that's like, it's got to be like this, and this attachment to perfection and this use of judgment. So when we have decided to use judgment, we are in a place where we have already decided that we don't want to know the unknown anymore. And that can be useful, in which case it would be called discernment. If we have set a goal on the new moon, which is what we do, we set a goal that we're going to work on for 14 days until the next moon, which is full. And by the way, the next moon that's going to be full is going to be an eclipse. So it's extra powerful. It's a time where beings on the planet might scurry and might feel unsure as to how things are, because it's a break in a cycle. It's an interruption in a cycle. And that interruption can be so useful. Have you ever been caught up in maybe something that's difficult to solve, whether it's you're on a writing project or you're making up songs or you're in a fight, maybe. And something interrupts it and you have to step away for a moment. And then when you come back, there's a solution. You get through it all the way. Kind of like Sherlock Holmes would stop and play the violin, and then he would be able to solve the mystery because he needed that little interruption. So that's what eclipses do for us. It gives us this little interruption. I'm going to close this out because we're at 25 minutes and we're not made to be able to focus longer than 20 minutes at a time. But I want to give an analogy because we have Venus in Aries in retrograde happening on March 1st. And so Aries is a fire energy, Venus is a watery energy, and this is happening during a watery season. And it's no pun intended, or maybe all puns intended, that it's happening on March 1st. Aries loves to go first. Aries energy is all about trailblazing and starting something. And that watery Venus energy is all about slowing that down. So it's kind of like you want to be starting something. Well, it's not going to be as fast as that song. You want to be starting something. Most of you probably don't even know that song. There's a Michael Jackson song where he's like, you want to be starting something, want to be starting something, want to be starting. He says it really fast. Well, Pisces season with a Venus in Aries in retrograde. Retrograde slow things down. Watery energy can slow things down. It's going to be more like you want to be starting something. And there's a reason for that. It's supposed to slow us down because we all automatically are like, go, 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 go. And we go, 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 go to support capitalism, which is not serving us. Most of us, right? Unless we're close to that 1%. It's not serving us as well as it could be. And Aquarius is about freedom. And Aquarius, Pluto being Aquarius, Pluto is about power. It's about karma. It's about multiple dimensions and past lives. And there is a freedom in recognizing that we don't have to do that Piscean sacrifice, this big sacrifice for a tiny little bit. That is not the natural order to things. That is not balance. We could sacrifice less and more people, more beings could have more of what is needed and wanted. I'm going to close this with a story about a myth. Because Venus energy is watery energy. We have, we're at 9 degrees of Pisces, which is a 9 as a number, which is also fire, and it's Aries energy. And we have Aries energy. So I'm going to give you a story real quick and try to end this. It'll be 30 minutes, so we'll try to end this. So there's this story of Daphne and Apollo. Apollo is the type of fiery energy. He was like these like light loving new age hippies that are all like light love, that's all, stay away from the dark. He wanted to be in the sun. He wanted to be there, and that was him. And it didn't work out so well for him because we're not meant to be that close to the sun. The sun will burn us. So you have to have balance, right? So Apollo fell in love with Daphne. Daphne is like a Venus type archetype, like water. And he chased and chased and chased. And no, the story is not about patriarchy and how all these grapings happened back then and still do to this day. No, this isn't about that. There's something deeper underneath this story. So he chased her, and to get away from him and to stop the chase, I'm going to back up a real quick minute, okay? So Apollo is like the Aries energy, which is fire. Aries lives for war. And the only thing that will distract Aries from war is love. Passionate love will keep Aries from wanting war. That energy can go into love, and it can be a passionate love. So it's a time to be asking ourselves, what are we passionate about? What are we passionate about in friendships? By friendships, I mean like the less romantic and more like friendships. What are we passionate about in our hobbies? What are we passionate about in regards to the things that we love? What really gets our spirit, which is Pisces, soaring? What are we passionate about? What feels good? So the thing that distracts Aries type energy from war is passionate love. Daphne represents the emotion of love. And Apollo chasing Daphne represents that passion, that fiery passion. So to get away from the war type, because sometimes, when you're being pursued, it can be painful and more warlike than it can be actually romantic. That's why you need balance, right? So Daphne, to get away from Apollo, what she does is she becomes a tree. So this is what happens here is when earth and water merge. See, on a surface level, we might just think like, oh no, earth and water don't mix. Yeah, actually they can. So when earth and water merge, they create new life. So when we follow our dreams and our desires that we are most passionate about, not that the world tells us is what we're supposed to do, not what the collective wave pulled us into, we're coming back to self during a new moon. And we're asking ourselves, like, what really lights my fire? What do I really want? When we pursue that with a passionate love, when we apply all that energy towards that love, it creates new earth. Creation is the opposite of destruction. So I would urge us to be thinking about that. For me, yesterday, this Aquarius energy has also been about where do we belong versus where do we not belong. And for me, yesterday, I kept coming up with like, oh my God, belonging, no belonging. And I had already decided, like I had said in a previous post, do a lot of meditation and do meditation for the purpose of blanking your mind out. And then after you blank your mind out, ask yourself what you want. And then remind yourself of the things that can distract you from it and make a commitment to remind yourself of what you really want when you feel distracted by what you don't want. So I got caught up in some of the like not belonging type energy yesterday. And I had already decided every time this is going to happen, it is an opportunity for me to transmute this. So repeatedly yesterday, I was like, wait, stop. Okay, I'm having a lot of feelings. Boom, there's 2 thoughts that make me feel really good about what I want. And I just stopped myself and I said, and that's why I'm calling in this and this. And then I would let myself go there. One of the things was, I'll give an example. This wasn't one of the things. I don't want to give too much personal information right now. But here's an example. Some of those beaches in Australia are incredibly beautiful. And then just letting my mind go there. Wonder what the sand feels like. Is it soft and powdery? Is it gritty? Are there seashells? What kind of seashells are there? Are there tiny little beach towns, or is it all city? I'm so curious. How is the water so clean there? What's it like to walk on one of these large stretches of ocean beach? Are there bugs? What kind of bugs are there? Boom. You're out of, so the energy has risen from the passion And the passion can be pre-programming. It can be preconditioning of what we've been always told that we want, or what we've come to believe that we want, or what we've come to believe that we need. It can be like unconscious, and we can take that energy and literally flip it. We don't have to like necessarily always soothe ourselves out of that energy before focusing. We can literally flip that energy. We can take that transmutation. And here's another thing, because we have some third house stuff and it kind of matches I'm talking much longer than I meant to. So I'm going to end it with this. I'm actually really going to end this now today, and I'll probably be back. But there's a third house has to do with Gemini. And we have some Gemini aspects. So Gemini has to do with talk and communication and all that good stuff. This is a little ditty that I made up, because with this belonging versus not belonging kind of energy that is part of this whole Aquarius movement that's happening, we can be worried about what people are saying or thinking about us. And we can get fears about that, right? Especially when we're stepping into something that maybe we've never done before, or we're stepping into the new. We might be part of the hero's journey is when you step away, the people that you're stepping away from got a lot of BS to say about it, right? That's part of the hero's journey. It's like one of the first steps of the hero's journey. I highly recommend looking up the hero's journey. So I made up this song. It's just a little tiny ditty. And part of this little ditty came from someone named Elizabeth from the internet in a group. Like some of the words from it came from her, and she was perfectly fine with me making up this song. So here it is. It's just a little tiny song. When from their lips my name is spoken, the universe grants blessing tokens, harming none but helping me. As is my will, so mote it be. So I just encourage you to recognize that energy can be transmuted even in the moment. We can decide in this hologram that is life that if people are talking, then that turns into abundance for us every time it happens. We can also do it vice versa. Maybe we have a habit of talking about other people, and we want to stop that habit because we'd rather be talking about what we're doing, what we want to do. So that would be when from my lips their name is spoken, the universe grants blessing tokens, harming none and helping me. As is my will, so mote it be. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. And no judgments that this has gone long. No judgments if no one sees this, because it's our babies. All of our creations are our babies, and love them. Love them the way you would love a baby, a brand new baby. Okay? Enjoy this Pisces season, and good luck with your goal setting.